No, there's nothing like. I mean, there are very, very few cases of abuse, and if there is anything that you're uncomfortable with in your organization or in your community, you can always contact a team who will help you with that. Situation and get you through with that. Yeah.
Okay, so specifically when we go to see what the inequalities are between a man and a woman in terms of uh, the way it could pan out is definitely a financial inequality where men are paid a slightly higher fee for the same job that is done because again it is okay. Like for instance, the Bollywood industry is a big industry. I'm a small part of it. What happens is that male actors are paid far higher than a female actor, and that, with an exception of just maybe one or two, the rest find it extremely difficult to break through that particular norm. Um, there is a lot of domestic violence because if you see, I don't know whether it's now restricted only to a class issue, but it's also a mass issue. This domestic abuse because of because the man being the financial earner of the family. We see that a lot in our house help where the woman is constantly beaten, except especially during this time in the lockdown where people are living in confined spaces because of where we stay. Spaces are constrained, so a lot of the lower classes have to stay in clusters, and because of large families and small spaces, it becomes very difficult. We find a lot of domestic abuse cases. In fact, during the lockdown, there were a lot of helplines that were set up especially for women and child abuse problems. In fact, just yesterday on my alumni group, it was a woman who was very badly beaten up by her husband, and there was something that had to be done about it.
Yeah, yeah, there's always uh, diversity and inclusion in the neighborhood, in organizations.
So yes, there is a fair amount of gender inequality. What happens is, in general, I think it's a worldwide phenomenon, and because we stay in a developing country, what happens is that it tends to get exaggerated because certain roles are perceived to be women's jobs, and there are certain roles which are meant to be only a man's job. Um, a lot of times we used to see where the top management had to be predominantly male dominated, but that is changing now. There are a lot of women who are taking top management positions, and men are surprisingly able to adapt to taking instructions from women. Though that is still, I find that in the lower management sections, I find that difficult, where a man finds it difficult to take an instruction from a woman. But that is changing slightly, but I think there's a long way to go to completely change that perception.
Yeah, so if there's any case of abuse or, you're uncomfortable in an organization, as I said, you can approach a team who will help you get through with this. And basically, there's zero tolerance for any kind of abuse. Yeah.
So the good thing is that while the unfortunate bit is that while problems do exist, The good thing about it is that there are also women who are in places of power and who have the ability and the heart to help women who are not able to help themselves. So there are a lot of organizations that have been set up. There is an organization called Majlis, for instance, which is very, very old and that constantly helps women in trouble. And they, in fact, when even if the woman doesn't reach out, and for instance, if they need to reach out to the woman, they do. And they try and help them go through an entire process, ensure that they're both physically taken care of and also mentally they've gone through some sort of therapy so that they're able to come out of the situation in a much, much better way that they otherwise would have. So yeah, the women who are in places of power and who have the will and the ability, there is a fair number of women who are doing something actively about it and are helping a lot of people to get through the problem.
Okay, so how I would be able to solve this issue is to be very, very transparent and speak up if anything happens or you think it can happen to you. That's the only way you can control the problem before even it starts. So yeah, that's
So how can anybody else help? There are two ways. One is, of course, the financial aspect, where we know that while a lot of the women in organizations that are helping women and children are work pro bono, but there are a lot of things that require financing. So one way to help is by making a contribution to these organizations. The second and the more important way that you can help is possibly if you are somebody who's working in the therapy space or is somebody who's medically inclined, then maybe reaching out to these organizations in this lockdown. One thing that we have learned is that remote help is possible. If you need to speak to somebody remotely, then it can happen now, and people have learned how to work around the way and doing online sessions. So your time, that would be something that would be interesting to explore, where anybody who has the time and the will and also the means in which we can better processes and make things better for people, for women and children in need, that is something that all of us can definitely